Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Hope you all are having a great time. So today we are going to go through the topic characteristics and classification of living organisms. There are 7 general characteristics of living organisms. First, we have movement. So this is basically the action by an organism or part of an organism which causes a change of position or place. Then we have respiration. This is the chemical reactions in cells that break down nutrients and they release energy for metabolism. Next is sensitivity. This is the ability to detect and respond to changes in the internal or external environment. Growth. This is the permanent increase in size and dry mass. You know, as you age, up till an age, your height increases, but after that you don't get shorter, right? So this is basically a permanent increase in height, so that falls under growth. Reproduction, processes that make more of the same kind of organism. Excretion, this is the removal of waste products of metabolism and substances in excess of requirement. You know, humans sweat when they feel really hot, then it is nutrition. So nutrition is taking enough materials for energy growth and development. We take in water, we take in carbohydrates, fats, proteins, because we need energy for work, for our daily activities. We need water mostly for metabolic activities. Next, we have the order of animal classification. First is kingdom, then it is phylum, after that we have class, then order, then family, then genus, and then species. We can remember the order of classification through the mnemonic King Philip King over for green soup. This is a very useful mnemonic for you to remember the order of classification. Some important keywords. Species, group of organisms that produce fertile offspring. Then binomial system of naming species. This is the internationally agreed system in which scientific name of an organism is made up of two parts, which shows the genus and species. You know, organisms are classified into groups by the features that they share. How do we actually write binomial name? From the previous slide, we got to know that binomial name consists of two parts, one is genus, the other is species. Genus, at first while writing binomial name you should start with genus. The, the first letter of genus should be capital. Then after writing the genus, you have to write the species. The first letter should be a lowercase letter. The whole binomial name should be in italics. For example, Homo sapiens. The H in Homo is in capital. The S of species is basically lowercase. This is basically the genus and this is the species. And the whole thing is in italics. The reason we write the whole thing in italics is because this signifies that the name is in Latin. Methods of classification: morphology, anatomy, DNA sequencing. Morphology is the overall structure of an organism. Anatomy is the dissected detailed body structure. And DNA sequencing is like they look at the DNA to differentiate between organisms. Like nowadays we hear a lot of a lot about DNA sequencing due to COVID-19 variants. So basically, they look at the DNA of the virus and differentiate between the two variants. And here it is written that DNA bases are used to code for amino acid sequences in proteins. The similarities in amino acid sequences can also be used to determine how closely related organisms are. So basically, while doing DNA sequencing, people also look at the sequence of amino acid to differentiate the two different kinds of organisms. The classification systems aim to reflect evolutionary relationships in organisms. The five kingdoms: animal, plant, fungus, prokaryote, autochthous. Here I have listed some features which help us to differentiate between the kingdoms. Animal kingdom is basically divided into two phylum, vertebrates and arthropods. Arthropods are organisms which are exoskeleton and have jointed legs. So vertebrates. The class of vertebrates are mammals, birds, reptiles, amphibians, and fish. The class of arthropods are myriapods, insects, arachnids, and crustaceans. Here you can find some features of vertebrates. For example, mammal, they have hair on skin, have placenta, have sweat glands, have ear on the outside, have a diaphragm, and are warm-blooded. Warm-blooded are basically endotherms, means that they can control their own internal temperature. Birds have feathers on skin, have a beak, lay eggs with hard shell, have two wings instead of four limbs, and are warm-blooded, which means birds are also endotherms. Then reptiles, they have dry scaly skin, lay eggs with soft shells, and are cold-blooded. Fish, they have wet scaly skin, have gills to breathe, lay eggs without shells, have fins, and are cold-blooded ectotherms. Amphibians: smooth moist skin, they lay eggs without shell in water, larvae live in water so they have gills, and adults, like adult amphibians, mostly live on land so they have lungs, and larvae have gills. Amphibians are also cold-blooded, which means they're also ectotherms. Here you can find the features of myriapods, insects, arachnids, and crustaceans. They basically belong to arthropods phylum. Myriapods have body consisting of many segments. They have one pair of jointed legs, at least one pair of jointed legs, and one pair of antennae. You can take centipede as an example. Then insects. They have three body parts: head, thorax, and abdomen. Three pairs of jointed legs, two pairs of wings, and one pair of antennae. You can take butterfly as an example. Arachnids, they have two parts of body, thorax and abdomen, and have four pair of jointed legs, but they don't have any antenna. So basically you can take spider as an example. Crustaceans, they have more than four pairs of jointed legs. They have their exoskeleton and have two pairs of antennae. For example, crab. Plants are classified into two parts: flowering and non-flowering. The flowering plants reproduce with flowers and seeds. The seeds of flowering plants are produced in ovary. The non-flowering plants have leaves called fronds and they reproduce by spores underneath the fronds. Flowering plants are classified into two: monocotyledons and dicotyledons. You can just in small terms you can call it monocot and dicot. Monocot, how can you identify monocot and dicot? Monocot have flowers in multiple of three and they always have parallel leaf veins. Dicots have flowers in multiple of four and five and they have reticularly interconnected leaf veins. Okay, now let us look at a or a thing called virus. So, I will not call it a living organism. This is because they do not show seven characteristics, the general characteristics of a living organism. Like, in at the first we learned about Mrs. Grain. So the viruses never ever show the seven characteristics. So what do they really do? How do they even survive? So basically, they take over host cells' metabolic pathways in order to make multiple copies of themselves. So basically, that's how they make copies of themselves. We are not supposed to say reproduce because they're not a living organism. So how are they gonna reproduce? They just make multiple copies of themselves. And virus structure is simply genetic material, RNA or DNA, inside a protein code. Like, you can see all this blue stuff. They are basically proteins, and the yellowish thing are membrane proteins. They only allow certain things to go inside them. Okay, a very interesting part of this chapter is the dichotomous case. This is a way of identifying an organism by working through pairs of statements that leads you to its name. So here we can see some pictures. I basically took it from a past paper question. Here they showed five species of mollusk. And here we have a table. So looking at the table, we have to identify the organism. So at first we have body is completely or partly covered in a shell. Here we can see that this A, B, C and D have bodies completely or partly covered in shells. So for this and 1B states that body is not completely covered or partly covered in shells. So this is Limex flavus. And here we can see there is only one mollusk with no shell, which is E. So the answer to 1B should be E. Sorry. Then let us now go to number 2. Shell is attached to rocks by thin threads, which is um, I would say is A. So basically this one should be A. Shell is not attached to rock by thin threads, so we need to go to 3. Shell is a spire that comes to a point and shell is not a spire that comes to the point. Shell is a spire. So this is C. It is a spire. It's spiral. So this one should be C. And if we didn't find this one, this should be 4. When we go to 4, animal has tentacles. Which one has tentacles? B. B. B has tentacles. Animal has 2 tentacles. It should be D. Here are some practice questions. The diagram shows a bird that lives near rivers. Use the key to identify the bird shown in the diagram. Toes jointed by a flap of skin. Yes, it is, because we can see a bit of skin between two toes, so we need to go to two. Beak is as long or longer than head. Yes, it is. Because we can. It is clearly saying that it is way too longer than its head. So we need to go to three. It has. It has a top of head black. Yes, it has. So it should be C. Opposite. The the question says the table shows scientific names and the common names of four plants. Scientific name and common name. So which word in their name show that the two plants share the greatest number of features? So when you find such questions, you should always look at scientific names rather than looking at common names. So scientific names. Here we find scientific name basically these are the binomial names. This is genus and species, genus and species, genus and species, genus and species. Right. So here we can find two organisms with same genus. So we can simply say that they share the greatest number of features because they belong to the same genus. These two organisms belong to the same genus, so it should be C. Viola. Here's one dichotomous. We need to identify the leaf. It says leaves in more than one pieces, yeah. They 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 13 pieces. Then leave edge smooth. Nope, they are not smooth, they're jagged, yes, so it should be sorbus alcoparia. Then it says the diagram shows some leaves and flowers of different plants. Here are the flowers and leaves. These two are leaves and these two are flowers. So which are from monocotyledons. So from monocot we know that a leaf should be parallel, the leaf vein should be parallel, and it should be in multiple of three. The flower should be in multiple of three, which like 6, 9, anything like that. So we can say that one is monocot, and from flowers it is 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's surely not this flower. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6. Yes, so we can say that this 1 and 5 are part of monocot. Because um, as we know that it should be in multiple of 3 and 6 is a multiple of 3. The flower leaf should be in multiple of 3 and 6 is the multiple of 3. So we can say that 1 and 5 are monocots, so the answer should be B, 1 and 5. Here is another dichotomous, you can look at it. Then there's another question which says the diagram shows an animal whose scientific name is Rattus rattus. What genus does it belong to? As we know that binomial name consists of two parts, genus and species. So this is genus and this is species. So surely this one is the genus and the answer should be yes, Rattus with a capital R. Then the characteristics of a fish, they are ectotherms, so they do not maintain constant body temperature because they're cold-blooded ectotherms. They don't have external ears present, yep, and their eggs are covered in yellow substance, yes. They have scales, yes, so the answer should be D. What are the features of the leaves of a plant that is eucotyledon, another name for dicotyledon? They have broad leaves and they have parallel veins. No, they don't have parallel veins. They have interconnected reticulated veins. So answer should be B. Next, there is a characteristic of living things that are demonstrated by the sequence. So as we can see, there is a seed growing toward, and the roots are going downwards. So what we can say that this is showing a positive gravitropism, because and gravitropism is a sensitivity in plant. So we can say it is showing sensitivity, and as it is growing, so this is showing growth. So answer should be B, growth and sensitivity. And thank you so much for watching my video. I hope you like it and please subscribe to my channel and share it with your friends because they're gonna get a huge amount of help from this video, I hope. So thank you so much.